Today we will discuss the new German conscription law, which many believe should apply not only to men, but also to women in equal numbers. This would go against the feminist equality discourse, which focuses on asking men to give up their privileges. What if women started doing the same, giving up their privilege in the defense of the homeland? Going back to our origins as a tribal species, when faced with war, men never had any other choice than to pick up spears or weapons, or face imprisonment, execution, or even torture. And on the battlefield, men suffered and continue to suffer violent deaths. The fact is that the issue of recruitment and gender inequality is increasingly being debated. Although women demand the advantages of equality, they don't want the disadvantages, especially when it comes to fighting on the front lines. Right now, the German government is studying the return of mandatory military service, suspended since 2011. It is therefore entirely fair that Germans, who place importance on gender equality in their progressive and liberal policies, include women eligible for military service in the same proportion as men in this new recruitment. The crucial question is, how can women expect men to voluntarily give up their privileges if they themselves don't lead by example? And although there are countries that recruit women, like Israel, they have the freedom to choose, and less than 4% of female soldiers engage in combat roles. The German writer Marie-Luise Goldmann reflects on the subject and asks, should recruitment be equal for women too? After all, besides the pragmatic reasons, there are also moral reasons. From the perspective of equality championed by the feminist movement, wouldn't it be unfair to deprive women of the chance to die gloriously for their country? Louise Goldmann should be applauded for promoting true equality in Germany, but few women support her. And the biggest example of the hypocrisy that reigns in the feminist world are Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the German minister Baerbock, the Finnish minister Sanna Marin, and the Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas, who, from the comfort of their offices, are calling for more war against Russia, using the lives of Ukrainian men as tools. None of them will ever take up arms. And what's more, none of them are Ukrainian. They are just more foreigners leading Ukraine towards the worst demographic catastrophe of the modern world. And the war in Ukraine shows how female privilege, which exempts them from war, has become even more extreme and unchecked. Ukrainian women were not only exempted from mandatory military service, but they were also allowed to leave the country en masse. Many of these women who left were not in any real direct danger, but they saw an opportunity to restart their lives in Western Europe. We know that seeking a better future is everyone's right, but for men in times of war, this is never granted. The old model of the father, the brother, and the son going to war while the women take care of the home has collapsed. And this begs the question, why and for what do men sacrifice themselves in war? Ultimately, if women don't want to be forced to serve on the front lines, why should men accept equality for women in other areas of life? After all, most men and women know that staying in a trench under bombardment, chased by drones or losing an eye or limbs due to shrapnel, is much worse than not being able to vote. All the suffering of women throughout history is insignificant compared to the horrors of war that men have been systematically forced to endure for centuries through mass, mandatory recruitment. Now, women have the right to vote and can even vote for more war if they so desire. However, this should come with responsibilities. Defending the nation from an external threat requires a true national effort. At least that's what the European Union elite says. This means we all need to roll up our sleeves. Think about it, and I wish you good luck and good health.